Hello again. Many people are surprised at the reluctance of world leaders to confront Israel and take a strong line with the country about recent events. Some mutter that it is because of the supposed stranglehold that the Rothschilds hold on the world's finances, or Jewish control of the media, and so on. It's nothing at all to do with that. It is the fact that if Israel chose to, they could destroy all the major cities of the United States, Russia, China, and still have enough bombs left over for Damascus, Tehran, Cairo, and even London. Almost from its very foundation in 1948, there were those in Israel who believed that the country's ultimate security lay in the acquisition of nuclear weapons, or atom bombs as they were then known. Which is why in the 1950s, with help from the French, the Israelis built a reactor at a place called Dimona, which is in the middle of the Negev desert. Throughout the 50s and early 60s, they enriched uranium there, constructed beryllium tampers, devised neutron sources, drew up blueprints for nuclear weapons, and did everything short of actually putting together a bomb. This was because they were wholly dependent on American aid at that time, and the Americans were opposed to proliferation. All this changed in 1967 when Israel was threatened with destruction. They launched attacks against three neighboring countries and swiftly defeated them. The Americans decided, as the Israelis were their only ally in the region, maybe they should let them build a bomb if they really wanted to. The Israeli government gave the order to begin production in the late summer of 1967, and the first warhead was completed in December 1967. To its casing was welded the words "Never Again" in Hebrew and English, which was, of course, a reference to the Holocaust. By the 1980s, Israel was in possession of literally hundreds of nuclear weapons. The vast majority of these were not crude fission devices, which they first developed. They decided to focus on more sophisticated thermonuclear weapons, and about a third of their stockpile now consists of enhanced radiation weapons, or neutron bombs, as they are popularly known. The typical nuclear or thermonuclear explosion gives out roughly 80% of its energy in the form of heat and blast, the remaining 20% given out as high-energy neutrons, alpha particles, gamma rays, and so on. With the neutron bomb, these percentages are reversed. In other words, only 20% of the blast is given out as heat and light, and the rest is radiation, which is really useful if instead of knocking out a whole city, you simply wish to stop an armoured column in its tracks. All those energetic neutrons will penetrate tanks, killing the occupants without devastating the area, which is very handy if, like Israel, you're a small country fighting an enemy on your very doorstep. Most of those enhanced radiation weapons aren't actually bombs at all, but artillery shells. The Israeli nuclear arsenal currently consists of just under 300 warheads. These are fitted to surface-to-surface missiles such as Jericho-2, free-fall bombs, submarine-launched cruise missile, mines, and artillery shells. About a third of the warheads, 108 to be precise, are assigned to the 3 battalions of nuclear artillery, which provide the backbone of the IDF's defence against invasion. They consist of 175mm self-propelled guns, 12 for each battalion, with a few larger pieces, average range of about 25 miles. In practice, those shells are kept in 2 big stockpiles. They're not just floating around. There's one stockpile at Elevon in the Galilee and another at Tel Nov Air Base, which is why that base was targeted by Iran, of course, during the recent war. It is for this reason that everybody treads carefully around the Israelis. There's also the question of the Samson option, which is that if there were any chance at all of Israel being defeated or destroyed, then they would use all their nuclear weapons to bring down the world. as Samson did when he pulled down the pillars of the Temple of Dagon in Gaza. Israel has the ability to trigger Armageddon, and nobody at all wishes to give them an excuse to do so, which is why countries, I mean, and leaders of those countries, rather tend to let Israel do whatever they please and go out of their way to avoid antagonizing the Israelis, unless they have a death wish, that is. And I'm thinking here of nations like Iran.